Strategic Prevention Framework, otherwise known as the SPIF, is a framework that SAMHSA actually wanted all the states and tribes across the country to learn about. It really is just a way of looking at a community issue and figuring out how to solve that issue by following the phases of the SPIF. Later, after we received the SPIF grant for 5 years, we then were able to apply for the Strategic Prevention Framework Partnerships for Success grant. And that grant allowed us to really drill down a little bit more and work on the SPIF. And Ohio has 88 counties, but about 62 of them are rural and Appalachian.
My name is Laura Malazzo. My role is to serve as a local evaluator. I work with the data communities in Adams and Lawrence counties. When reviewing the applications from the local community organizations and the local coalitions, the state leaders and review panel saw that many of the applicants, especially from the Appalachian communities, struggled to be able to provide competitive responses. In particular, the Appalachian communities would not even be able to begin using the Strategic Prevention Framework process because they did not have coordinated local data collection efforts. The state and other project partners came up with an innovative way to help build the capacity of these communities. They approached 2 Appalachian communities that shared the same Adams board and offered them an opportunity to receive graduated, performance-based mini grants that would go over a 3-year period. The mini grants would allow them to receive intensive training and technical assistance that helped them to build local data capacity within their communities. This training and technical assistance helped them to build leadership and prevention infrastructure.
When I think about back 2.5 years ago, when we were planning this process and thinking about applying for this grant, my hopes and goals were that we could build a data community for Adams County. What I had found through the foundation, we had written several grants, and I was always struggling to find the information that we needed. So this was really important when we saw the grant opportunity that we apply for this grant, because I felt like our county could do better. We're at the bottom of the health rankings from the Robert E. Woods.
I think that we've built resources just by being able to, people resources anyway, just by being able to be more knowledgeable about how things work and where we need to start and what we need to do. And by training our coalition members, in that process, everyone's feeling more confident about what we're doing, why we're doing it, and understanding a little bit more why we just can't jump right into doing strategies.
The data committees have greatly benefited from having access to the wraparound team, specifically OCAM and OSET. Not only have they reached out to ask questions about data, to ask questions about documentation, but just to feel comfortable with the process. If they are asking about appropriate language or how it was done before them. And I think one of the most beneficial parts, we were able to bring the subrecipients in on several phone calls and face-to-face meetings. And that dynamic of giving some empowerment and some educational opportunities from the subrecipients to share their knowledge and experience with the data committees was just beneficial on both parts.
So how the SPIF process has grown, we have been doing the SPIF here in Ohio for close to 10 years, which is a long time. We first had the SPIF State Incentive Grant. That grant focused on 18 to 25-year-olds in the state of Ohio, and we funded 13 communities. Once we received that grant, we then applied for the SPIF Partnerships for Success grant, and we were able to fund 10 communities and then pick up 2 additional communities. But what's been really interesting about that is that for the second part, the Partnerships for Success, we focused on Ohio's rural and Appalachian populations. So we knew coming in that the process was going to be a lot different. It had to be much more culturally appropriate, which basically meant that in Ohio we had to slow down, we had to take our time, and we had to meet communities where they were.
Focus group data was really critical. for us in the needs assessment process. We have strength in quantitative data through our Youth Asset Substance Use Survey, and we were maybe a little less comfortable with gathering qualitative data. Working with lots of people in the community, gathering them, taking the time to really get our groups together was a process.
The tools that we used to overcome our obstacles were, number one, the project coordinator from the Tuscarawas County Anti-Drug Coalition. Very many resources they used and gave to us. Trainings that we had, I personally went to the opiate conference, CADCA. We had trainings for our youth-led groups. We had training for the Newcomerstown Community Action Network. We used the SPIF website. We also received training from in resources from OSET, OCAM, and Ohio Moss.
The tools that we used to overcome our obstacles were mainly people. Going to our coaches whenever we had a question was the easiest and most welcome thing. They always had, even if they didn't have an answer right away, they sought one out, or they would pose the question to us to help us take another look at what it was that we were asking. Sometimes we didn't always understand what it was we were asking for. The coaches were excellent in helping us to understand our situation.
We used about everything that was given to us. We were on the webinars, we did drop-in calls, we definitely used our OSET team and OCAM coaches.
There was a full day of learning, and a lot of it was content that we felt as a leadership team that they needed to learn. So whether it was building their confidence in the SPIF process, building their confidence in coalition building, or teaching them about the SPIF, the other piece was the application of that. And what these learning communities allowed them to do was to build their confidence to share their local community successes. That was one thing we really emphasized. Through this process of the SPIF PFS project, we had a wraparound team that consisted of OCAM, which stands for Ohio Coaching and Mentoring Network. We also had the OSET evaluation team, which stands for Ohio SPIF evaluation team. And then we had the project directors that were included in, around that we surrounded them with wraparound support.
Utilizing wraparound support, we've had an amazing support group. So from OCAM and OSET, and then just everybody else who's been here along the way. I think one of the best things that it just seemed like there was no wrong door. I felt like if we had a question, I could email or I could call, and when they would help us problem solve. It was just a really great opportunity to have someone there that can give you help in a process that you've never done before.
Through SPIF PFS, we're able to build our workforce development not only through our 10 sub-recipients, but also through our coaching network. And we've learned through previous projects that having a robust infrastructure for the state is vital. And this is an opportunity to really enhance professionals at all levels, which includes the coaches. So we've done our substance abuse prevention skills training numerous times throughout the state. We also have our regional learning collaboratives. The focus of the regional learning collaboratives is really to enhance the process for those that are going through their credentialing, because we know that that's some areas that can be a challenge, particularly if you've not had experience in going through credentialing. We have coaches that are available to provide support and resources and the encouragement to help folks know that they can be credentialed and credentialing is valuable.
We spent a lot of time doing face-to-face meetings. Even in the way that we did our application process, we actually went to rural and Appalachian areas. We held meetings there to see who would be interested in applying for the positions. Everything we did was different. We took a whole different cultural approach to it. So we had to slow it down in order to truly build capacity and to work through all the phases of the SPIF adequately.
Cultural competence informed our SPIF PFS initiative in our community by making us as a coalition be accountable to make sure that we were getting a fair representation of all input with needs assessments, focus groups, etc. Warren County has a lot of communities within the county, and some of those communities are more advantaged and diverse, and other parts of the communities within the county are very disadvantaged and not diverse. So it was important for us as a coalition to make sure that we got input from equal parts of the county regarding the underage drinking topic and the knowledge thereof with focus groups and community readiness assessments.
We have an active media campaign. We have listened to our community, in which they have told us that social media and billboards are the primary place where they gain access to information, as well as their young person's school district websites. So we've partnered with our school districts to ensure that whatever campaign and information we put out there, that it's also available on the district websites and that they will be promoting it as on an ongoing basis.
Our coalition will evaluate our strategies using a couple different methods. So we're going to use a formative evaluation method, which will look at the whens and wheres and whys and hows of how we implemented our media campaign. So it's really going to look at how many people did we reach through our media campaign, what was the total impact in the community through billboards, through advertising, through giveaways and such. And then we will also look at a summative evaluation. So we're also going to look back at the data. What's the data telling us? Our Oh Yes survey is something we really want to continue doing in our schools, because we found that the data really tells us what's going on with our youth. And so when we look at the data and we look at the formative evaluation, that's going to help us know, was our campaign successful? Were there things we need to change? What would we do differently in the future?
If we've been successful, again, by a decrease in underage drinking among youth in Hardin County ages 12 to 20, an increase in family communication, and we think that's our two main objectives, is to increase family communication and decrease underage drinking.
Tips or hints that I wish that I would have known when we started the SPIF was when we started out, it did seem like, you know, it was taking so long. We were doing so much on data collection and planning, and sometimes that can get hard for coalition members because they can kind of lose track of where you are. But a tip that I would give would just be to really appreciate and value that process, because as Charlotte just said, in the past we did not have the time or the assistance to be able to do that. And going forward, I think that would be invaluable if you could always have that much time and assistance to be able to plan. I think that is how you get the best results in your community.
It was really a very guided process that, you know, it couldn't have been a better opportunity, and it really helped us structure the coalition, build that capacity, partnerships, and, you know, understanding that cultural competence piece too.
Part of our legacy also is the sustainability. We've built a great number of resources. We don't know where we'll go from here, but we have awesome websites, and so we have information on our websites available for any community that's interested in addressing any issue that is available to them, not just for Ohio, but for actually anyone around the country. We have a large number of webinars, PowerPoint presentations, and templates just waiting for people to take advantage of them. So I believe the legacy of the SPIF is that the information is there, and we are, willing to work with you to help you learn it, and that's our sustainability.